In section 6.4, looking at using systems to model data. In example 1, L is the amount of student loans in billions of dollars since 2000, and we have models here for private loans and Stafford loans. We want to use substitution or elimination to predict when the amount of private loans will equal the amount of Stafford loans. So it's already set up to use substitution since I know that L is equal to 3.0t minus 1 and L is equal to 2.3t plus 15.4. So we want to substitute the value of L in the first equation in for the L in the second equation. Since L is equal to 3.0t minus 1.0, our equation becomes 3.0t minus 1.0 equals 2.3t plus 15.4. Let's solve this for t. First step is going to be to subtract the 2.3t from both sides. It'll give us 0.7t minus 1 equals 15.4. Now add the 1. 0.7t equals 16.4. And divide both sides by 0.7 to solve for t. Let's go to our calculator. 16.4 divided by 0.7 gives us about 23.43. Now let's take this value for t and plug it into one of the equations for L. Let's go ahead and use the equation for private loans. So we have L equals 3 times 23.43 minus 1. So I go back to my calculator. I want that value times 3 minus 1. So we've got about 69.29. Now we need to interpret these values. T is the year value, and it was years, remember, since 2000. So we know that if we add 2000 to this, it's going to be predicting that in the year 2023, L is going to be equal to 69.29. Now L is the amount of loans, and what we did when we set the two equations equal to each other was solve for when they were going to be equal. So in the year 2023, both the private and Stafford loans will amount to $69.29 billion. In example 2, we're looking at the U.S. market share for Chrysler and Honda. What we need to do first here is get the equation for the Chrysler model and the equation for the Honda model since the equations aren't given. Let's look at the Chrysler model first. The information that we're given is in two ordered pairs, and we're going to be working with a starting year of 1995. So for the Chrysler model, 1999 is a year value of 4. We had a market share of 15.15%. And in 2012 is a year value of 17. And the market share value was 11.17. To find this linear function, we need to first find the slope and then the intercept. So we'll take 11.17 minus 15.15 over 17 minus 4. Grab our calculator. Top of that fraction is going to be negative 3.98 divided by 13 gives us negative 0.306. We know that our equation is going to be of the form y equals mx plus b, and we've just found the value of m. So we'll take one of our ordered pairs and find the value of b. If I take the first ordered pair, I'm going to plug in 15.15 for y equals negative 0.306 for m times the x value of 4 plus b. So we'll multiply negative 0.306 times 4 gives us negative 1.224 plus b is equal to our 15.15, and to solve for b we need to add the 1.224 to both sides. So the b value is 16.274. That means that our Kreiser model, if we put the equation together, is C of t equals, our slope is negative 0.306 t plus 16.274. A similar process will find you the model for Honda. If you calculate the slope and y-intercept correctly, your Honda model should come out to be 0.265 t plus 5.122. In part B, we're going to use these two models, and we're going to find their intersection so we can determine when the market shares for Chrysler and Honda will be the same. To find the intersection, we're going to set the two models equal to each other, so negative 0.306 t plus 16.274 will be equal to 0.265 t plus 5.122. Let's start solving this system by first adding the 0.306 t to both sides. So we'll have 16.274 equals 0.571 t plus 5.122, and then subtract the 5.122 from both sides. So 11.152 is equal to 0.571 t, and we'll divide to get our value of t. The value of t comes out to be about 19.531. This is going to be our year value. So since our starting year was 1995, this will give us the year 2014. What happened in the year 2014? If we take the 19.531 and plug it into either of the equations, we should get the market share value, the value where the two equations are equal. Let's go ahead and take that and plug it into the Chrysler equation. We get about 10.3. And if you check back up our units were in percent. So for our final answer, we can conclude that in 2014, the market share value for Chrysler and Honda was 10.3%. Alright, let's check out the next example. In example 3, we need to do a regression. So the first step is going to be plugging the data from your table into your calculator. We're working here with years since 1980, so you're going to plug in values of 8, 13, 18, 23, and 28 in your first column. Then your second column, you plug in the number of men enrolled, and your third column, you plug in the number of women enrolled. Let's get those values entered. So you go to your stat menu, edit. All your data values should be plugged in. Now we're going to do our regressions. We're going to go stat again, over to calculate, and a linear regression, so option 4. The first one I want to calculate is the number of men that use first column and second column, so list 1 and list 2. Make sure list 2 is selected. It is default, so it may already be selected. Hit enter. Go down to calculate, and hit enter again. So this is the regression equation for the number of men enrolled. So the equation is y equals 0.1042 t, we're going to use the letter t for time, plus the b value 4.974. We're going to do something very similar to find the equation for the number of women enrolled at U.S. colleges. We have our data entered, so we're going to go to the stat menu again, calculate, option 4, linear regression. This time we need to make sure that we're using list 1 and list 3. Let's change that y list to list 3 and go to calculate. This time the equation is y equals 0.1898 t plus 5.3096. And so we have both of our regression equations. In part B, we're going to want to use these regression equations to predict when women and men have the same enrollment levels. To do it by hand, we're going to set each equation equal to each other. So we're going to be looking at 0.1042 t plus 4.9744 equals 0.1898 t plus 5.3096. To solve by hand, I would move one of the t's to the other side, move one of the numbers to the other side, etc. to solve for t, then make sure that you plug it back in for the t value to find what m and w are equal to. Now I can also solve this using my calculator, so we're going to use this option this time since we didn't check on the last one. To use my calculator, I'm going to plug each of the equations separately into the y equals menu. So my y1 equation will be 0.1042x plus 4.9744, and my y2 equation will be the equation for the women's model. So we'll enter 0.1898x plus 5.3096. Now we want to graph. Before I graph, I'm going to go ahead and turn on both plot 1 and plot 2 to show the data. Let's make sure, first of all, my plots are set up correctly. So I'm going to hit second and y equals to turn the stat plot menu on real quick. And we'll notice that plot 1 is going to be graphing L1 and L2, so that's the men's data. We need to change plot 2 to graph L1 and L3, which is going to have the women's data in it. So let's change the Y list here to L3. Okay. Now when I go to graph, I can see the data for both sets showing up. I can also see the intersection over here on the left-hand side. Let's go ahead and find in the calculator by using second calculate and looking for option 5, the intersect. First curve, that is the first equation, so hit enter. Second curve, that is the second equation, so hit enter. And then move the cursor over towards the intersection before hitting enter again. So as you can see, the intersection is at negative 3.91588, comma 4.5664. Alright, and what do each of these values mean? Remember that our t value here is the number of years since our starting year, and our starting year was 1980. So if I add 1980 to this value, we're going to get the year 1976. And be careful to make sure that when you add that, you consider that this is beyond -3, closer to -4. If you use your calculator to add these two values, you can see that it is indeed in the year 1976. Check out the units on the 4.5664. Units on both of these columns are in millions, and we're looking at the year when the number of men enrolled, the number of women enrolled were equal. So our conclusion is that in 1976, the number of men and women enrolled in U.S. colleges was 4.5664 million each.